Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Middara on Tabletop Simulator. All right, so we just finished the boss fight against Damocles and his minions. Overall, it was a bit sloppy, not just because of some of the rules mistakes, but I kind of just the way I fought him originally, I think, was I kind of lured the minions in first, and then just unloaded on them. But in this playthrough, I kind of just charged in because I had 7 units. Uh, which was kind of crazy, and it kind of worked. um, the change with the summoning, where it's per person instead of per party, is definitely pretty significant. It definitely makes you rather strong if you take advantage of it. Overall, I still kind of like the change, just simply from a gameplay perspective, because it kind of sucks that if you're playing with friends and if someone gets Badman's Book of Baddies, it's like, oh, all right, well, I got this book, but I can't use it because someone already has summoning in my party. So it's kind of nice to be able to use it. When I did have a summoner and Badman's Book of Baddies originally, I actually had both on the same character because originally it was per party, and I would just kind of use Badman's Book of Baddies as kind of like an opening summon, and then whenever LFE finally falls or gets destroyed, I can switch over to my actual summon that gets the summon tokens. So that's another way you can kind of play it. But letting another player kind of maybe mess around with summoning without actually having to commit to assemblage is kind of nice. So overall, I think it's a decent change. Like I said, balance wise, it breaks things quite a bit, but it does guarantee that I'll be able to progress. I think at this point. I mean, I will say the Damocles fight was kind of hard, just simply because I rely on a lot of attacks, like just sheer number of attacks to do damage. And since every attack I did essentially reflected back at me, it definitely wore down my party quickly. Also, my group was kind of worn down from the previous encounter, just simply because I was very, very reckless to try to ensure I get the achievement. Anyway, we're in the story bit now, so let's go ahead and do some reading. All right, we're not here to fight. The man lay bruised and beaten at Nightingale's feet. His espers were gone, banished back to the realm they'd come from. Half the cellar had been torn apart in their battle, yet he still glared defiantly at her. Do it, then, you bastard. He choked, then spat at her. Do what you came here to do. Something dark and distant whispered that she should. She'd come to help, and he tried to kill them without even an explanation. Nightingale whimpered at the foreign thought and dropped her weapon. It clattered uselessly on the floor, or to the floor beside him. We didn't come to fight you. She offered a hand to help and helped him up. He rose unsteadily, watching with a mixture of disbelief and anger. You expect me to believe you? You all showed up in the same place. He swayed, then caught himself on a nearby shelf. Then they waited. Probably out of the same damn tunnel you used to smuggle the blight in here. Someone might have used it for that purpose, but it wasn't us. Rook said calmly from behind Nightingale, as she retrieved her weapon, then slid it back into its sheath. We tried to get the guard to let us in, but they wouldn't listen. So we found our own way, Zeke said. He glanced nervously at the only entrance, a nearby set of stairs. They'd made quite a bit of noise with the fighting, and it seemed only a matter of time before someone would find them. Nightingale sighed. Look, I'm Nightingale Arson. Second Princess, she trailed off, glaring at nothing. All that royalty crap. This is Zeke Zhang and our friends Remy and Rook. Nightingale folded her arms. We're on an important mission, and we were hoping to get your help. We expected to help you in return, not, She waved around the room at the broken shelves and puddles of spilled wine and torn tile. This. The door banged open. They heard the clacking of hooves on stone as a man came rushing down the stairs, followed by half a dozen guards. He was slim and elegant, with a short goatee and a jagged scar running down the right side of his face. His right eye was a cloudy white, though the other was bright red. Damocles! He shouted, making straight for the man they had beaten. What happened? He didn't wait for an answer, instead drawing a dull silver blade so quickly that the Nightingale hardly even saw it move. Men, arrest these intruders. Father, no. Damocles held up a hand. The anger was gone from his face. Do that, and you'll be arresting the king's daughter. What? The man took several long moments to look them over. His eyes moved from Nightingale's horns to her tail. He lowered his weapon. Guards, hold. Did Balthazar send you? Yes. Nightingale didn't hesitate to lie. We thought this was an escape tunnel. The man sighed with visible relief, holstering the sword. I'm afraid not. He moved to inspect the area they'd come from. Guards, fetch a bag of cement. We have a tunnel to seal. Then the man turned toward the group. I'm Elias Hyde. With all due respect, Princess, next time, please use my front door. Of course. Nightingale held out a dirty hand. Nice to meet you. Elias grasped her hand, then shook. Not as formal as your father. I like it. And your friends? Welcome to my home, such as it is, under the circumstances. Serious situation, 192. I think they're not... oh, sorry, wrong one. Serious situation. They followed Elias up the stairs and into Hyde Manor. The mansion was made of the same stone as everything else in town, though it was far larger and more spacious than the densely packed buildings down below. Even so, the space was quiet and subdued. Framed paintings on the walls looked to be gathering dust, and many of the glowstone lamps were covered. It felt like walking through a crypt. They were brought into a sparse sitting room. It was as dark as anywhere else in the house, with no fire burning in the hearth. Elias prompted them to be seated, choosing a stiff red armchair for himself. His son sat too, though he straddled one of the wooden seats the wrong way and never took his eyes off of them. We sent a plea for help weeks ago. I had begun to wonder if the messenger hadn't made it. Are there difficulties in the capital? You could say that, Zeke said. We weren't their first picked, but we already had business out this way, so we made a convenient choice. Nightingale nodded in agreement. Technically, they'd only inferred that the Hyde family needed help when they got to town, but it was enough. We're prepared to do whatever we can to help, such as finding that tunnel for you, Rook added. Elias nodded. Your service has already been invaluable. We've been searching for a weakness in the house's defenses ever since the attack. We thought it was your escape tunnel, but your actions suggest it wasn't part of your estate's design, Rook said. When I built my home, I chose a location with unbroken bedrock beneath. I suspect you may have found... Elias shook his head. The method our assassin used to get inside the compound. But I'm afraid I'm getting ahead of myself. We should start at the beginning. Every part of this house held desperation, from the cold hearths to the jury servants. We understand your situation is desperate, Zeke said. It is. Elias sank into a seat, the color draining from his face. My wife, Rivka. God, I don't know. I'll explain, Father. Damocles said. A blighted guardian penetrated the city's defenses, slipped into the estate, and attacked in the middle of the night. Thanks to your help, we now have a good idea of how it got in. One of our guards was killed before my mother arrived and destroyed it. Damocles paused and only seemed able to continue with great effort, his words broken with pain. She was bitten in the fight. Everything seemed fine until he trailed off. She was infected, Rook supplied. She's changing into one of them, isn't she? The group turned to Rook to look at Rook, obviously happy that he knew what the blight was. The blight, it's supposed to be incurable. Once infected, an individual will slowly turn into an abomination. The cure hasn't been discovered. That doesn't mean there isn't one, Elias glared. I haven't called you here to tell me what I already know. Zeke kept his voice low, not making eye contact. Why are we here exactly? Elias raised an eyebrow. You've fought these creatures before, haven't you? Yeah, Nightingale said. Princess Shalis told us you're experts about these creatures, Elias said. So you already know that once an individual succumbs to the blight, they're mindless. They never could have snuck into a fortified structure like our house. Someone must have made that tunnel to get them into our estate. Elias swayed a moment, clutching the armrest of his chair for support. Finding and sealing that tunnel will prevent further attacks by the same method, but it will not lead us to those responsible. Nightingale looked at her friends. So you want us to catch your assassin? Damocles put a hand on his father's shoulder and looked toward the group. There was an incident just a few days before that might be connected, an explosion in the Iridium mines. We haven't had a fatal accident in ages, and it comes only days before the attack. They seem related, but the culprit won't talk. Zeke bumped Nightingale briefly with his knee and met her eyes. She nodded and he looked back. We can help. We can help, he said, standing. Is your wife... Elias rose as well. Rivka is still alive, but her condition is no concern of yours. His voice was like steel. Focus on this. Someone has tried to assassinate Balthazar's appointed duke. Any outcome other than swift retribution will greatly weaken your control over the region. We'll find the ones responsible, Nightingale declared. I promise. Thank you, Princess. Your father and I have a history. I could see his passion in your eyes. I know you won't let me down. Elias turned to Damocles. My son will accompany you. He can help assure your safety while you travel in my city. Balthazar would kill me if anything happened to you. Nightingale scoffed. Everyone keeps saying my father would do something awful to them if I was hurt. What's the deal? Elias smiled. They're just being honest. Many are still suffering from the death of your brother Dominique years ago. Or Dominic. King Balthazar most of all. Come with me, Damocles said as he strode toward the door. We don't have time to waste. Mark the story flag, Elias's gratitude on the adventure sheet. I'm not sure exactly what would cause that to not trigger. Actually, I'm guessing you don't get that story flag if you ended up talking your way in, because then you wouldn't be able to find the tunnel. All right, Coming Clean, 194. The streets of Hyde were deserted so late at night. Its hard-working populace either asleep or entertaining themselves in one of its many taverns. The stone houses lining the street were dark, with most shutters closed and the windows reflecting the gentle moonlight. Nightingale couldn't help but appreciate just how bright the stars were on such a night, so high up. She sometimes looked for familiar constellations she remembered from Earth, but she never found them. Damocles, could you slow down? She asked. He did, his expression stern. Whatever it is, it better be important. My mother's life is wasting away with every minute. She blanched. Had the circumstances been lighter, she might have said something about Damocles being a buzzkill, but she knew what he was going through and thought better of it. I'd like to be honest with you about what we're doing here. Is that so? He folded his arms. I thought it was strange that an arson and a Zhang would be getting their hands dirty. Usually your type pays other people to do the work for you. He sounded bitter. My father is so eager for Balthazar's assistance that he was willing to see it, even when it hasn't come. Damocles sighed, then stretched up, looking out into the streets of Hyde. Honestly, so long as you're willing to help me with our problems, I don't see any reason to send you away. He looked them over again as though searching for clues. If you didn't come here to help, though, then what are you really doing in Hyde? We're searching for a Theodosian mage, Rook said. Our investigation led us to believe that one passed through recently. Damocles shrugged. I don't have a clue of what that is. Some kind of magic, I'm guessing? Rook nodded. Rare and incredibly destructive. Most information about it had been lost over the years, so we can't tell you much more. Damocles started walking again. If you mean the collapse and the entire mineshaft sort of destructive, we're already on our way to meet someone like that. What? Nightingale had a surge of excitement. Even a faint possibility that our objective was in sight brought a flood of relief. You know where they are? Our only clue to attack was the accident my father mentioned, Damocles said. Not the sort of accident you were used to either. The story I heard was so strange that I'm still not sure I believe it. We should probably let the jailer explain. All right, page 195, the Justice in the Dungeons. The jailer was an overweight man. His armor could barely contain him. For all that, he seemed energetic enough and happy to receive company. I wouldn't believe it either, Damocles, but the evidence is telling. There was no trace of blasting powder, and our scryer found no esper either. I'd sooner believe a swarm of Fragor had been the ones responsible, except we didn't find any of their corpses. What's so impossible? Nightingale listened with interest, though occasionally she would glance behind the man to the row of cells that contained only one prisoner. The jailer looked to Damocles for permission. Damocles nodded. It's all right. You can tell them. They're helping with the investigation. Of course. The jailer gestured to a cell behind him. I don't know how she did it, but somehow she took out a whole damn section of the mine. An explosion was so big that it caused other sections of the caves to open. We sealed them for a good reason. Damocles turned back. The explosion happened the day before my mother was infected. Ever since, mining has come to a halt. We're still trying to figure out which mines had been compromised by creatures and which haven't. The jailer shook his head. We think at least 3 people were caught in the blast, though there were only a few pieces left behind. It's hard to be sure. What was she doing in the mines in the first place? Zeke asked, glancing back at the slight form in the last cell. She doesn't look like a miner. No idea. The jailer scratched his head. No tools on her, not so much as a pick. Of course, we didn't really know how she survived the blast, seeing as she was at the center of it. Not to mention how she didn't get eaten by all the creatures she released. What is she holding? Rook squinted into her cell. Is that a book? It was the size of a paving stone, so large that it would have been a struggle to lift. The jailer shook his head. That's where it gets really strange. When we found her, we took her gear, but we couldn't take the book. Damocles, what do you mean you couldn't? Damocles asked, raising an eyebrow. She's what, 100 pounds? You were overpowered by her? The jailer shook his head, clearly annoyed. We confiscated it half a dozen times. Within the hour, it would be back in our cell. It even attacked one of my guards. I had to pry it off his face with a crowbar before he choked. Huh? Nightingale shrugged, more intrigued than anything. Doesn't make any damn sense. The jailer lowered his voice to a whisper, though he spoke only to Damocles. Nightingale could still hear him clearly. I'm nervous about keeping her here, sir. An explosion that size right here in town, she could kill 100 people. Damocles nodded. I'd like to speak with her, if that's all right. Of course. The jailer rose, removed a keyring from around his belt, and made his way to the door. You just holler for me if you need any help. We don't have any other prisoners right now, so nobody should bother you. Prisoner, the Duke's son is here to have a chat. You best behave yourself. There was no answer. In the back corner of the cell was a girl shorter than Nightingale. She was younger, too, with mousy hair and big blue eyes behind oversized glasses. She sat on her cot with her back against the wall, one hand resting on the giant, worn-looking book. Damocles stepped up to the cage and beckoned to the girl inside. Explain yourself. The girl said nothing and instead just scooted farther away. Do you know how many people were hurt because of you? Again, the girl said nothing. Instead, she buried her head into her lap, squeezing the book a little tighter. Damocles seemed to get angrier. Are you hearing me? But my mother is... Nightingale put a hand on Damocles' shoulder, turning him around. She stood on her tiptoes for a moment. Let me try, she whispered. Damocles looked like he would argue, then shrugged and stepped aside. 5 minutes. Excuse me. Nightingale stopped right in front of the bars, trying to sound as sympathetic as she could. We need your help. Her horns stopped her from pressing her face between the bars. The girl looked up from behind her book. My friends and I are in trouble. Nightingale laughed. Actually, you might be the only one who can help. The girl was silent for almost a full minute. Nightingale began to wonder if she was going to have any luck. Then she heard a voice. You need help from a murderer? The captive squeaked. I'm not sure that's what you are. Nightingale pulled a stool over from against the wall and sat. People died, but that might not make you a murderer. Maybe it was an accident. The prisoner nodded. Her eyes were sullen, and there were streaks through the dirt on her face. I don't like hurting people. I didn't mean to. The girl tensed, one hand suddenly rigid as she gripped the book beside her. Why did you come to me for help? I'm Nightingale. These are my friends, Zeke, Remy, and Rook. We've been searching for you. Nightingale could barely contain her nervous energy. Maybe the girl could save her too. I'm Justice. Justice Beauchard. The girl turned. I don't think you want my help. People tend to get hurt around me. I can't control it. Because of your magic? Rook asked excitedly. Justice recoiled. How do you know about that? You're the only one who could help us, Justice, Nightingale said. You're the first person we found with Theodosian magic. It was a gamble. Would she recognize the name? It was as if Nightingale had flipped a switch. Justice snatched up her book, retreated back into the corner of her cell. Even so, flickers of light seemed to emerge from its pages, twisting around in her fingers. You shouldn't know about that. Nightingale ignored her fear. She had already made progress with honesty, and she figured she might as well finish. There's a monster torturing me, Justice. Every day its grip gets tighter, no matter what I do. It's a parasite is trying to steal my body. It'll kill me soon, without your help. Justice set down her book, and her voice returned to the timid, nervous tone she'd been using before. What kind of creature? It's called the Maluma. I don't know what it wants. That's easy. I want a body. Yours will do. The haunted voice cut through Nightingale's mind and made her fall silent. She gritted her teeth, ignoring the involuntary shiver the voice brought on. But we think we can help you if you can help us. We searched for a cure, Rook explained in a calm voice. The only one we found was an obscure reference to Theodosian magic. Justice slowly climbed to standing, slinging the book under one arm. She walked all the way to the front of the cell, then looked Nightingale up and down. Maluma. She closed her eyes. I can sense the creature within you. I don't think I can help you, but I might know someone who can. Excuse me. Damocles cleared his throat, his voice trembling in an audible attempt to keep himself calm. It sounds like your mission is important, but my mother's dying. You've found your answer. Now we need to find the ones responsible for letting that blighted guardian into my family's manor. If this girl doesn't know, Justice didn't retreat. She eyed Damocles warily. Blighted guardian? I do know. Well, the ones who tried to kill me down in the mines had blighted guardians with them. I don't think the explosion got them all. Damocles seemed too stunned to speak. Nightingale wasn't. What were you doing down there anyway? Justice hesitated. We were looking for something. I tracked it to the mines. But we weren't the only ones looking. Nightingale wanted to ask what Justice had been looking for, but decided against it. Damocles advanced, forcing her out of the way. We? Who were you down there with? Justice looked as if she was about to cry. My friends, or acquaintances. We were ambushed. I had to use Theodosian to protect myself. The explosion from my spell is what caused the damage to your minds. One of your attackers must have gotten away. Did you see who they were? Damocles had both hands on the bars. Nightingale could see him gripping them so tightly that his knuckles had gone white. Yes, Justice answers, taking a step back. Tell me everything. Anything you saw might help us find those who were responsible, Damocles insisted. Justice looked to Nightingale, who wore the same foolful look as Damocles. Look, I can take you there, to where they might be hiding in your minds, but you need to let me go if I do. You're in not in a position to make demands. Damocles glowered at her through the bars. Share what you know, and I'll ask for leniency for you. It's more than generous. No, Justice shook her head. They tried to kill me. I was only defending myself. I didn't mean to cause so much destruction. So here's my offer. You get me out, and I'll help both of you. First, I'll lead you to the one who commanded those blighted guardians. Then I'll take you to the only person I know who can help with the Maluma. You swear? On my life. New party member. Justice joins the party. Players must immediately set up Justice by going through the following steps. Reveal small, medium, and large hidden cards UM19 to access the Justice Bochard initiative card, story item, and adventure cards. Justice gains the Book of Theodosian story item. This story item is double-sided and may be equipped as either a relic or a weapon. So we finally get a new character, and she's rather entertaining. Alright, so get our initiative card, and we get this. Now I think they've changed it. Okay, so originally in the book, when you got a new party member, it actually stated what experience they started at. But the intention, of course, is to have everyone have the same experience. So seems like they fixed that. So Justice Bochard. So she should be at 27 experience. I'll count it up in a second to make sure that's correct. And just to kind of show off some stuff before we continue. Justice Bochard. She has standard starting stats, just like any other character. Only has 1 strength, so she's the physically weakest character in the game so far. Has top-tiered perception and lore, and below average agility and pretty low presence. Her unique ability, Temporal Cavitation, is essentially her explosion ability. She is the first character I've encountered that actually has a adventure ability that actually does damage. So what it does is, once per encounter, all figures within Justice SOI are dealt. All other figures within Justice's SOI are dealt casting die worth of magic damage, rolled separately for each figure affected by this ability. So it's a very volatile ability because it hits everybody, including allies. But it's an AoE and does extra damage. It does cost 2 stamina to activate. And she has this book here. A few things to note is it's double-sided, as mentioned before, but it's also Justice only, which means only Justice can equip it. So the weapon side is a 2-handed weapon. It's melee. Casting upgrade green, and then you can exhaust to spend up to 2 stamina to add the same amount of energy tokens to the card. While this weapon is equipped, you may spend these energy tokens as if they're stamina. So you can actually bank stamina with this. And every book does +1 magic, and then every burst does +3 magic. And then the other side is Book of Theodosian. and you can place an energy token on any unoccupied space with an SOI, and when you end your turn, remove this token and warp to the space it occupied. So you can actually place this like back behind you, move forward, do some stuff, and then teleport immediately out. And warping does not provoke attacks. So that's actually pretty cool. So we got that going for us. Justice joins the party with the uncommon armor Marbus Threads. Which is one of these things. So we'll grab Marbus Threads. This is cloth armor, of course. So this is the uncommon tier for cloth armor. 9 health, 1+1 movement, standard dodge bonuses, all that good stuff. Ignore the first break attack you would provoke each turn, and then you also gain +2 physical damage while flanking. You get the uncommon relic Collar of Ebon Rule and 50 gold. So here's the Collar of Ebon Rule. Passive, if you do not have the heavy tag, gain +1 armor. And then we get 50 gold, so this will put us at 350. Okay. And if you already had those items, essentially you just get a random common armor and relic instead. As mentioned, gain XP equal to the total experience earned by the party, a single member so far. Then she may learn any discipline she has enough experience for. Record all information on the adventure sheet from this point forward. Players may choose to play as Justice using her adventure card. Players are still limited to 4 adventures in the active group. So it's kind of mentioning stuff here. And the only time you can trade out is usually during story rounds. Sometimes adventurers will narratively split up or otherwise forcibly be used. We strongly recommend keeping all of your adventurers properly geared out, even when they're not chosen as part of the active group. That's part of the reason why I've been holding on to a bunch of stuff, because honestly it's not worth selling. So I have a bunch of spare stuff here that we can use just in case. Speaking of, let's grab ourselves a cloak. What's this thing do again? It's not too bad, but it is what it is. Alright, so yeah, we do have Justice. And we do need to deck her out, so let's make sure we have our experience set up correctly. So we have 3, 8, 15, 24, 27. So yeah, we are at 27 experience right now. Obviously, with her special ability, you generally want to go caster with her, though of course you can always go ham and give her, like, I don't know, brute serum or something, give her like a ridiculous strength, which I may end up doing. So the way I want to build her, in my personal playthrough, this is when I actually made a summoner. I actually made Justice into the summoner. But for this one, I think I'm going to make her an actual standard caster. So I'm going to try a few things. I kind of like Rook being the debuffer, so I might go ahead and have him stick to that. And maybe try to go Gore Shot for a free spell cast. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff we're going to kind of have to think about. And there's, of course, Blood Toll. What's that one called? Bring the Shadows. So I do want Bring the Shadows. And I'm going to end up shuffling a lot of gear around. Like, I'm actually going to probably give a lot of the movement gear to Justice here. So let's actually take this as an opportunity to go ahead and set up in a sec. Well, actually, you know what? Before we do any of that, let's go ahead and do the story round. Hide Exploration, page 198. Because now we are back into a new phase. Which means we get another uncommon item, or uncommon unique item. So I'm going to hit shuffle once and take the top. Okay, so what is available is the Sword of Cladennets, which is the next tier of Saber. For the most part, it's pretty much the same. But now it has a follow-up where you can deal magic damage to an opponent adjacent to your target equal to the damage dealt. So essentially you can hit 2 targets at once, which is kind of neat. I'm probably not going to get it, though. I don't really care about getting more sabers for Rook. Obviously, he's all about the spellcasting. But I'm interested in Bring the Shadows for Justice. What this does is you make a move, and then you do not provoke break attacks, and you suffer no penalty moving through opponents. And what you do is you just run through all the opponents, and you hit them all at the same time, with a potential of doing a casting die of damage and inflicting darkness. So this ability is all about having high movement. So I'm planning on shifting a lot of Rook stuff over to Justice to make her like a super mobile, you know, bring the shadows type character. And with this relic here, that I can use the warp to teleport myself back, so it won't, put her at risk. And we have this convenient little edge console to play around with too. So we definitely have a lot of options to play around with. So I'm pretty happy about that. Anyway, let's go ahead and go in here real quick. We got some new relics to play around with as well. Yeah, it's up here. Also, we have a shield. So let's take advantage of all that. Let's pull out all of this. Probably not going to need the Lineage Edge anymore, or the hoodie. I don't need the belt. I'm going to go cloak with her. I'll hold on to the problem solver for now. We also have a bunch of these to play around with if we really want to. So Hemlock and Sarah is guaranteed. We're definitely going to use that. The Collar of Ebon rule, I'm actually going to go ahead and hand that off to Rook. That'll give him +1 armor. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep the Soothsaying MP3 player on Rook. So he can do his poison. It's hard to say. I mean, he can still support Justice, so it's not the end of the world. So yeah, it's looking like a relic. Here's our armor. Here's our accessory. Here's our weapon. We need to buy a core for her. Actually, sorry, she's going to end up using the Hasten core, so I'll pass that to her. Yeah, she'll have the Hasten core, and we need a new core for somebody else. When an ally is defeated, when you are dealt damage from attacking a dodge token, when making a conviction check, pass this conviction check, you can exhaust. When you fail a conviction check, you can reflect damage. Or I can get Lonely Mountain for extra. Alright, I'm going to spend 110 gold and get Lonely Mountain. I'll bring us to 240. I'll go to him. And at this point, I think I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff because I don't need it. We don't need utility cores anymore. A Lineage Edge, this thing. We're going to put them all the ward in the stash and swap that in for this. Alright, so with a melee weapon, it becomes a green die. So now he uses a green die for casting and attacking. Pretty good stuff there. He now has 5 armor, so he has 1 armor from Shield, 1 armor for Organi Blade, 2 armor for Barbed Blessed Blade, and then 1 from Collar of Ebon Rule because he's not heavy. So he has 5 armor. Not too bad. Alright. As for who I'm going to replace with Justice is actually going to be Zeke. I'm actually going to swap out Zeke for this stuff. So we'll take his stuff out for now. I'm actually kind of okay with him having these items. So the easy way to handle this, by the way, is go to game, or not game, sorry. We want to go to objects. Sorry, I'm lagging a bit. We want to get components, and we want tools. Wow, this thing's lagging like crazy. And we want a bag. Alright, and then we can add a name to this, which will be Zeke, Zhong. And then we can put stuff in here. So all of his stuff is going to go in there. So we're going to give him some items just in case we ever get forced to use them. Anyway, I'm going to take him out of a stack just to kind of make sure that works out. He can keep the club for now. He's obviously going to keep the backpack. Fight drive is fine on him. I want to give Justice the Bad Man's Book of Baddies, so that's probably going to take care of her stuff. I do kind of want to give her the brute serum, though. I really, really want to give the brute serum to somebody else, if I can. Let's swap out a fight drive for a brute serum for Nightingale. This will give her some conviction, which she desperately needs. This will make her strength 7. And give her 2 extra health, which she needs. She needs health badly. Alright, so with that in mind, we can give him... we can give you the bottomless beverage and the other fight drive. You can keep the perpetrator cat suit, that's fine. The gene tweak's fine. You get all of your standard, you keep your disciplines as always. Okay, I think that's everything. Yep, and then I can just put Zeke off to the side. Bye-bye, Zeke. Alright, and then we can swap in Justice. And we can see what we can get happening here. She's only going to have a hasten core, so it's only going to be +2. Oh, actually, I need to give the MP3 player to Justice for the extra movement. I forgot. Alright, so it goes to 6, 8, 9, 10. So that'll give her 10 movement. And with that in mind, we might have to give Batman's Book of Baddies to somebody else. Actually, she can use it. So what we can do is she can swap items. That will work. Alright, she'll have a cloak for her accessory for now, until I decide that she needs something better. Oh yeah, also, I got Soul Bond, which means I should have actually more health. So her health should be 12 base, 16, 20, 24, 36, 38. Yeah, she should actually be at 42 health. So yeah, Femke and DM definitely had 21 health. Alright, good to know. Alright, grab this. Grab the etched console. Alright, so her casting die is now a green die. She has no conviction. She does have cloak, so she has protection at least. This casting die should have been green a while ago. And then what are we going to hand off to Rook? I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with the tank item. So I'll stay normal. His health now should be 14, 16, 18. Wait, why is it? Oh, sorry, I misread that. 14, 18, 20. So he should be at 20 health now. His movement's back down to 6, which is okay for him. 5 armor. All of that's normal. Okay, we're good to go on that front. Nothing else I need to really pass on for these relics, so I'm just going to go ahead and return them to the stash. So the plan is, all I have to do is flip this book to activate the summon, and then I can swap in the other book. And since flipping stays flipped until a restore, that pretty much ensures she's good to go. Alright, I do want to get Bring the Shadows, so that's going to be a guaranteed. Now, whether or not I get Gore Shot is whether or not there's actually abilities that I would like to use. In secret... So she can do Soul Pack, which is self-resing, essentially. So whoever defeats her, if it gets killed, she comes back. I kind of want it. That kind of sounds pretty cool. And what's the 4th tier core? 2 stamina to make a move. You have flight for the movement. Deal yourself. Okay, vow tokens. After resolving an attack or spell made, cast a spell 6. Deal your target magic damage equal to the amount of damage the previous attack or spell dealt. After resolving this ability, end your turn. And before an opponent with an SOI rolls for any reason, that roll receives -3. Yeah, so there's definitely some options. I kind of want to get damage, but unfortunately, core is actually not great for damage. But I think I'm gonna have to go for it. Yeah, we'll do Gore Shot. It's at least an exhaust ability, so it doesn't cost any stamina. And we'll just have to make sure we get some healing and stuff going. Which there's definitely a way for me to get extra healing. So Gore Shot, Bring the Shadows. I think I'm gonna leave Rook the handle getting the rest of the status debuffs like paralysis. In fact, he'll be able to get that in 3 more experience. I do kind of want to go all the way in for the spells in question. So the only thing catch about Bring the Shadows is that it's a move action. So after you use it, you can't do it again. You can only do 1 move per turn. But she can definitely hit multiple targets with it. And one thing to note about this move with Bring the Shadows is you can't spend stamina to increase the movement range. So that's why you got to maximize your movement speed, which is what I've been doing. Okay, so I think. All right, so Gore Shot, Bring the Shadows is going to cost her 8 experience. So that's going to put her at 19. Like so. All right. If I keep going higher, it's going to. If I want to maximize, it will cost 16. Yeah, it'll cost 16 to go all the way with Korra right now. Or I can try to maximize her movement more. So I can go Nirvana's Mark and Aspect, which is going to cost another 8. But it'll get her another +1 movement, so she'll have 11 movement and ignore all penalties for movement. And then Nirvana's Mark will give her more health and give her regeneration, because she's going to be burning health to do things like Gore Shot and all that. So if we grab Aspect and Nirvana's Mark, that'll be another 9 experience, because it's going to cost 4 and then 5. So it'll be 9 experience, putting her at 10. And then I think I'm going to go and take advantage of Life Grasp, which is an exhaust ability. So with this, she doesn't have haste, unfortunately. That is actually something I was considering getting, was haste. But I think I'm gonna leave. I might actually leave that for Remy for next. Once she gets an experience point, because if she gets an experience point, she can get haste for herself and then just start buffing people. Because that's really what will work best for her soul bond. So, with Life Grasp, that's going to cost her 7 experience, putting her at 3, and that's all she can purchase now. So her Gore Shot will do 2 damage base, and then another 6 if I do the 2 irreducible damage, because it's ×2 your highest core level, which is right now 3. Aspects are going to make her have 11 movement, and then for her health, she's 12 base plus 9. That brings it up to 21, and then Nirvana's Mark will bring it up to 23. This is the Nirvana's Mark is really just to ensure that she can regenerate health without relying on Rook's font renewal. That's pretty much the key thing. The big thing, of course, is the Life Grasp, because it's just going to hurt her a lot. After rolling to determine the force of the spell, you can actually deal damage to yourself to get +6 to the roll, so you can guarantee that you do damage with it. That's kind of the key point of it. So a bunch of AoE damage, more AoE damage, AoE damage with darkness, and then more raw magic damage. So I think we got the theme. Besides all of that, we don't really need anything else. We do have some money. Oh, let's go ahead and sell these. So this will give us 10 gold. We just don't need utility cores anymore, because I can't do swapping with them anymore, so there's no point in keeping them. This ghost canister will cost 10 gold. So 260. This lenient edge will also cost 10 gold. Putting it at 270. And then the armor is another 10 gold. So they'll put us at 1080. Alright. I think that's everything. So let's take a look at what we have available. All upgrades, one random, uncommon, unique. And, oh, it looks like we don't have any side quests for this one. It's just straight into the mines for this. Okay. We can do a bounty, but there's no bounties available. Alright, so good news is we have more HP than what Zeke had. I do kind of want the Brute Serum on Justice, but I just don't have the open slots for it. Also, the Hemlock and Sarah is going to be super important for things like Life Grasp and Gore Shot. So I think that's going to be kind of key. The only with how her stuff is mostly exhaust abilities or move abilities, her not having a ton of stamina is not going to be the end of the world for her, so that's okay. Also, if we ever need a different level 1 discipline, I can always pop one. In fact, I can actually do that. I can flip this and get the haste ability until Remy gets hers. The only thing that's going to limit me on is I won't be able to do that free attack, which can be kind of important too. So, like I said, a bunch of options. Oh, actually, movement-wise, I actually have more movement. So it's 6 base, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. She actually has 12 movement. I forgot that the cloth armor gave her +1 movement. So she has 12 movement base, which means she essentially has the movement equivalent of spending 4 stamina on movement, which is ridiculous. But it ensures that when I do Bring the Shadows, I move 12, which will be pretty huge. I've had some experience using Bring the Shadows, so I kind of know the limitations. So having Aspect along with Bring the Shadows will pretty much ensure that she can get where she needs to be with it, which is pretty cool. It's almost an equivalent of flying. The only thing is it doesn't allow her to go over pits. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And we don't really need to worry about barrier. We do have Elifie with the summons in here, so that should be okay. The only thing we really need to do is get her some consumables, which I think I might just go with none for now and just pick up some more. The deck right now has, yeah, I'm kind of okay. I'm okay with them having these in there. Okay, that works for me. I'm just checking in what else we have available. Best rice balls in Millennia. You know what? You can hold on to that. You have the best rice balls in Millennia. We have the pager. Where's the other pager? I know I have another pager somewhere in here. Ah, here it is. We'll put this on. We'll actually have Justice have that. That's fine. And I'll let her have the throwing knives, so we could have some open inventory for everybody. Okay. Sorry this took so long. Like I said, this is a brand new character. I definitely want to use her. She'll be a lot of fun. We do not have Mend anymore. That's a key thing. Now, anytime I say we don't have anything that's level 1, put quotes around it, because I can always get it with Edge Console. But I have been in my group that I've been playing with. We actually don't have Mend in that group yet either. It's definitely doable, so it's not the end of the world. Just got to be sure to take advantage of the font renewal stuff. All right, yeah, I think this will be the build I go with. Um, I'm a little concerned about maybe wasting a little too much on this stuff here, but honestly, Aspect with Ring the Shadows is definitely a combo I want. And then the Nirvana Mark is just to help make up for the damage I'll be dealing to myself because of Gore Shot and Life Grasp. Because I definitely want to take advantage of that. I think that's everything. If that's the case, I think we're going to be diving into the mines next. I'm just kind of looking over things to make sure I didn't forget anything, but I think we're okay. So I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this was Middara. It was all story and me rambling and trying to figure out how to build a new character. And we have a new character. We'll be trying her out next time, so see you then.